What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got Rescue 1 in the shop doing some much needed repairs and upgrades that I've been putting off pretty much all summer. It's been a pretty busy year now that we're getting into winter, starting to slow down so we can tackle some of these projects. We'll go over some of the stuff we're going to do and then we'll get at it. One of the things I like to have on all my service truck is ground lighting. I like to have the area around the truck lit up just so if you're dropping your tools or anything like that, it's easy to pick up, especially if you're in snow or something. I got them under the cab too, but a couple of them have decided to quit working. We need to address that. I haven't been real happy with this brand of light. It doesn't seem to last as long as it should. Right here we got this one that's turned into a strobe light. This one down here is just super dim. And then another one under the cab here. So we need to get those replaced. Another issue I had over the summer is water and fuel light kept coming on. I would replace the fuel filter and then about a week later, same thing. So somewhere along the line, I picked up some bad fuel. This here is my fuel tank. Not really a typical fuel tank kind of truck. It was actually designed as a transfer tank, so I can use it for filling up other vehicles that are out of fuel on the roadway or just filling up equipment. To solve my water and fuel issue, I decided to add a couple additional filters right after my tank. Some big water separators. Typically those are not made for truck. Those you would see on like a big tank on a farm or something like that. Wherever you're pumping fuel out, it'll go through those first. I really wanted to get rid of that water in the fuel. They got drains on the bottom. My stock fuel filters on the truck don't have any drain, so there's no real good way to get that water out of the fuel other than replacing filters. So one of the issues after installing that large fuel water separator and fuel filter was the lift pump on the motor couldn't pull enough out of the tank. I was getting low fuel pressure issues and performance issues with the truck. So what I did was pulled the cartridges out of the housings and bypassed it for now. I think my way of getting around that is I ordered this electric lift pump that I'm going to install back here by the tank, boost pressure, so I'll be able to reinstall those cartridges and get all the rest of this water. I think I got most of the water out, but I want to get those filters back in so I can remove anything else, any particles that are in the fuel system or anything out of there. So that's one thing we got to get installed. So I also bought a backup camera. I like having these on all my trucks. Got this one from Amazon, nice big screen on it. The camera is a wireless model, so all it needs is power. So we just need to get this mounted back here, and then we'll run it over to the control box just so it powers on with ignition. And then lastly on our list for today is I got a set of duals that keeps going flat for probably 2 months now. Every time I come to the truck, this eye is opened up. For those of you that don't know, these are a cat eye system that equalizes pressure in both tires. The main reason I bought it was ease of filling, and when you do your pre-trip inspection, all you need to do is walk around and make sure your eye is closed. This one's a little bit open, but that's just because I filled these things at 80-degree weather and now we're at 25-degree weather, so time to readjust pressure. This one keeps constantly opening. I've sprayed all around the tires, can't really find a leak, so I think I'm just gonna have to pull these tires and see what we can find. I figured I should probably start with that because that's the most boring part. I hate dealing with tires, so we'll knock that out first. So one of the things that these cat eye systems does is it equalizes pressure in both tires, but only up until a certain point. I checked pressure in this one, I got 60 psi. In this one over here, I got 90 psi. My guess is this system will go from 110 down to 90, and then as soon as it drops below 90, only the one tire that's actually leaking will lose pressure. I'm assuming it's this one. I don't see anything in the tread. Get some soap and water and see what it does. Well, here's what we've come up with. A valve stem leak. So I got this tire machine, but it's really not made for truck tires, more so for cars. I'm gonna give it a try, see if it'll break this bead. That was kind of underwhelming. Alright, I got our valve stem out, and I don't know if you guys can see, but the rubber is squished awkward on one side. That's what was causing the issue. I don't know if I have any more of these, but I might be able to seal one of these rubber seals off of another one. Alright, turns out I got another one. I found one on the shelf. So we'll get a little bit of oil, put on that seal, get it reinstalled, and now we definitely should be good to go. Alright, we'll get that tightened up, re-air this thing up, and see what it does. So one thing, especially with aluminum wheels, that you want to do is make sure that your nut and your flange are able to spin. So when this seats against the aluminum wheel, it's not rotating and digging into your wheel. Good practice to do is put some oil on the back side, right in that lip. So my 3/4 inch torque wrench is out for calibration right now. That should be back within the week. So I'll get these final torqued before we drive anywhere. Now we just got to remount this somewhere where our hoses aren't rubbing too much. So like I said before, this is one of my favorite things about this system. You just have your single point of fill for both tires. You're not trying to reach in here with that long neck filler. So this is really convenient. It's a little bit more work having to take apart both lines, make sure your O-rings are all good. I think overall, for the amount of tire repair I do, man, these things are a lifesaver. So next on the docket is to get our rear view camera installed. Tested this thing out and kind of decided the best placement was on the control box for the winch. It's not perfectly centered, but you really can't tell on the screen. There wasn't too many options for mounting this thing back here that was convenient. I didn't want to get any flashback in the monitor from our rotating beacon, so I think if we mount it above it, our line of sight will be over it and it won't show up as we're driving. So we'll get that thing mounted up here. Alright, got that installed. Got all my extra silicone all over my cable. Nice thing about mounting it on this box is I got power and ground right inside here, so we don't have to run the wires very far. Instead of cutting this, I'll probably just add the extension that it comes with, keep this factory plug. We got all our wiring done. I had one open spot on our fuse block, just connected our positive there, added a 10 amp fuse, got our ground connected up here. I'm just going to close up that hole with some silicone just so I don't get any rain and snow coming in there. Here it is installed. I like the quality. It's HD. I had one of these on my other truck, not the same model. This one's got the really big screen on it, so that'll be nice. We'll go get this hung up somewhere. I can find a spot that doesn't block too much of my windshield. So in the cab, I'm kind of limited as to where I can put this thing. I initially wanted to hang it upside down from the ceiling, but this bracket that it comes with doesn't allow it to swivel all the way to the top, which is kind of odd. Normally on a monitor they mount it in the middle so you could swivel it to either side. I think within the software you can rotate the screen 180 degrees, but it's probably going to drive me crazy with all the menu buttons upside down, and then the sun visor on the bottom. That's kind of cheesy. I think I'm going to mount it right here on the doghouse. I got my I 3D printed this holder for my remotes, for my Go lights, the remote control spotlights. I can move that fairly easily. There's no electrical or anything to it, so I'm going to disconnect that, mount this somewhere in this region. Won't block any of my windshields or windows or anything. I just need to have access right over here. This is my trailer brake controller, and if I ever get into like a panic stop situation, it's nice to be able to grab that and put your brakes on 100% on the trailer. So there's already threaded nutserts in here, so I might try to just utilize those instead of drilling new holes. Hopefully some of them will line up, or I guess at least one of them. It looks like maybe they both might line up, so that'd be awesome. Alright, I like the position, how it turned out. It'll be nice having it off to the side instead of out straight out the front window, because a lot of times at night I'll have to turn it off just because it's shining so bright right in your face. It also keeps it nice and low, so I still got view of my side mirror and out the passenger side window. And then also it keeps it up off the doghouse about 1 inch, so when I flood this entire area with my coffee, it'll keep it up out of the electronics. We are all wrapped up on the camera. Tied in our wire harness into our traffic advisor box. It was pretty simple, so pretty happy with the install there. And now we are on to the fuel pump. Okay, to mount our fuel pump, I thought I would take advantage of this right here. This doesn't move or anything with the outriggers. I was going to 3D print something to go over here to bolt our pump up, but I don't know that I trust it. This thing's pretty heavy and bouncing down the road. I didn't want anything to break. So we got our bracket that we cut out. I'm gonna weld that on right to the thread. We'll get that tacked up there, get that bolted up, and then we'll just have to wire up an ignition back to here. Being that this is a fire truck, there's so much wiring in the center section of this truck. So I'll be able to find an ignition feed that's unused from the ladder portion that we took off. So I think it'll be pretty straightforward. This is stainless, so I don't have to worry about painting it or anything, but we'll get that tacked on there and get this thing bolted up. Time to tackle the wiring for the fuel pump. As I was saying before, this is my wire harness that was existing on the truck. This was all the electrical that went up to the ladder section of the truck. So after I cut all that off, I kept it all here, so I thought I could utilize some of that later on, which in this case is working out perfect. I did find an ignition source in here, so we'll be able to just grab from there and tie up to our fuel pump, and then I will just relabel the fuse in the cab accordingly. I was able to find this pretty easy. I really like this meter with this detachable face on it. I do a lot of work on boom lifts and aerial equipment, and being able to see readings up in the basket and stuff from stuff down on the base is critical. This will give you the ability to go over here, turn on the ignition switch, and be able to see that we got power. This meter is worth every penny. It's a little bit more than your traditional multimeter, but man, it pays for itself really quick. For our fuel lines, I'm going to use this Weatherhead. It's actually hydraulic hose. I checked with the manufacturer. I just wanted to double check that it was fine to use with diesel fuel, and they said no problem. Their older hose wasn't really compatible with diesel fuel, and the inside of it would kind of break down and get into your filters. So we're just going to crimp our fittings on. We got our 1/2-inch die. All right, we got that crimped. We got two 90s on this hose, so it's critical how we position these, because if they're off even by just a little bit, we won't be able to get those threads on, because this hose has no way of twisting, especially because it's so short. All right, our inlet side of our pump is 1/2-inch pipe thread. I'm going to jump from that to JIC, so I'm going to thread in an adapter. Put our Teflon paste on our threads. Get our hose in position so we can line up our other end. So just like that. What we'll probably have to do is get our length marked, cut it off, slip our new fitting on, and come and recheck it, and then we'll draw a mark on our hose so we keep our position. All right, here's our existing line coming out of our tank, our supply side. This will be our new fitting. That looks about right. All right, we'll get that put back on the truck so we can clock this top fitting, get it in the right position. But first I'm gonna run some brake cleaner through this hose. I don't wanna contaminate my fuel system with any of that stuff we cut off on the hose. That looks pretty good right there. So as long as we take this over to the crimper without moving this end, we should be fine. It's pretty tight in there. So I think here, instead of just making up a whole new hose, there's no real reason. I'm just gonna recrimp my end onto here, reuse this hose. It's only less than a year old. Kind of no real reason to change it. We'll save some money. Now what I found with these with this permanent sealant, I still got about half of the Teflon paste in the bottom, but the brush doesn't reach the bottom of the can. It's really annoying. I found that with that and anti-seize as well. I don't know if that's just a way of making you buy new products or what, but it's pretty annoying. So for this end, I used a live swivel, meaning you can swivel the end of the hose and not actually have to move the hose. There's also one with a fixed end. So I could have threaded this whole hose in first and then done my other side. This way it's just a lot easier, and I think it puts less tension on the hose. These fittings are slightly more expensive, and I think they probably leak more than a fixed end fitting, but I don't think it's anything measurable that we're going to have a problem with this. All right, that is good and tight. Got all of our lines hooked back up, powered up. Time to pull off those covers on the bottom of the housing down here. We'll drain out any garbage that's in there, clean those bowls out, and put our new filters in. Pretty painful to dump this out. It's probably like $50 in diesel fuel. For our first filter, I'm going to do the fuel water separator. I figured we would get rid of the water before we try to actually filter the fuel out, and then our second one will be our particulate filter. So one of my filters was an actual goldenrod filter, and then this, I guess, is an off-brand because they didn't have the other one in stock. It didn't come with the seals for the filter, so I had to go grab one off the shelf. I like these clear housings on this setup because you can actually see the amount of water that you got in your fuel when you come to your truck in the morning. You'll be able to tell the difference in the bottom of here. And they also obviously have the drains to get all that out of there, so you know the condition of your fuel. So I guess one thing I'll do is keep this second filter loose while we're priming this system so that we can escape all of our air out of here instead of pushing it all the way through the motor and then back to tank. I really like having an electric fuel pump back here near the source of fuel. I like pushing the fuel instead of trying to suck that with the mechanical pump on the truck. You can see this thing is quite a long distance from our fuel tank over here, all the way up to the motor over here with just this little mechanical pump. Plus, it's a lot easier if you have a breakdown or something low power on the road. If you're priming your fuel system with an electric pump back here and pressurizing it, it's a lot easier to find a fuel leak than it is to find where your fuel hoses are sucking air. Alright guys, we got some bonus footage. I picked up about 100 pairs of these tire cables online from somebody who was just selling them. They were unused, still in the box, but the boxes were all pretty damaged, like they'd been sitting out in the rain. I've been looking for some kind of traction device like chains or cables or even those tire socks, which from what I've seen are not the greatest thing out there. I've never used any of them. I figured that tire chains are probably the most aggressive and maybe the best way to go, but I got these cables for super cheap. The problem is there's no real instructions on how to install them. No tensioning device. All there is this on this end that locks in over on the other end. What I'm going to do is try to fit it on there, see what you got to do to lock these on, and then go from there, I guess. I don't know if any of you guys have any experience with tire cables. I don't know if they're any good, if they ride better than chains, or if they don't tear up the roadway. I'm pretty sure where I live, these are illegal.
It's not illegal, it's frowned upon.
If you get in a situation where you need them, you don't really care if it's necessarily legal or not. It's better than paying for a wrecker to come out and pull you out of the snow. So I guess they fit. It appears that that's all you do to lock them in, and then they're adjustable for different size tires. I don't know if then I just take my bungee cords and go across this thing and see how well it is. I really do not want to lose these things off the truck and then rip off my fenders. So I guess we just give it a try. I don't even really know what like the maximum speed is for chains or anything. These didn't come with any paperwork or anything. We'll give it a try with some bungee cords and put them across there. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this. Let me know what you think in the comments. I don't know if this is how they're supposed to fit. If these are even supposed to have bungee cords on them. I guess I'll give it a try and see how she drives around the property. It's pretty tight on the inside, so I don't foresee them coming off. I could add some more bungee cords to each tire. I don't know, we'll give it a try. Alright, last thing on our list is we gotta replace some of these work lights. It was daylight savings here a week ago and starting to get dark around 3:30, so it's a real pain not to have work lights all over the truck. So we will get some of these taken off. I already have the same model light, so we're gonna put that back on, even though I'm not happy with it at all. But I thought this light was going bad, but it turns out it's covered in dirt and oil from the hydraulic cylinder repair that we did a while back. So that just needs a bath. That one will be good. Well guys, here's the motor. It's in rough shape, needs a bath. Runs well and everything, but gets dirty real quick. It's a Detroit Series 60, and it seems like every day I got more and more oil leaks to tackle. I had a truck driver tell me that this is the best motor that you could ever have in a truck. For me, I think that's true. They leak a lot of oil, and he also said that they'll always leak, but you don't really need to worry about it until they stop leaking. I just keep adding and tackle them one at a time. I did my pan gasket last winter, and that was a pretty major one, so just got some pretty much minor ones now, and we'll get them handled here. Here is our lights. It's not working over here and over there. It's about the worst possible place you could ever want to mount a light, right behind this tire. Just constantly throws road salt and dirt and everything else at it. So I guess I can't complain too much that it failed. It would have been nice if it lasted a little longer than it did. Not sure if you guys have seen these, but I really like these step down butt connectors. So you got red on one side and blue on the other. It's really awesome for, especially for hooking up new LEDs with such small wire on them. And with a truck that was actually made with all halogen lights, so all the wires are quite big compared to this. So it's really nice for connecting up two different size wires. I get a lot of corrosion on here from that tire spray on the aluminum, especially. It corrodes really bad. So I think I'm going to throw some dielectric grease on there and try that out, see if it works any better. Guys, one additional repair I'm going to make is replacing my door jamb switch. Not only does it turn on the interior lights in the truck when you get in, but I also have warning lights on the door. So whenever you open the door, say you're sitting on the side of the road or pull up to a broke down vehicle, opening the door will also activate these side lights, and they're actually really bright. They kind of flicker when they flash. I really like having those operational, and this switch has been giving me all kinds of problems. Like, I finally pulled it out and got it to turn on now, but as soon as you close the door and open it back up, it just sticks. So I think we'll go ahead and throw a new one of these in. How these work, it just has a single wire on here, and then the screw is connected to ground. So whenever this thing opens, it just completes this ground circuit and turns on everything in the vehicle. Easiest repair yet. That one definitely, you can feel that thing clicking on and off, and it comes out with a lot more force. Something was hanging up inside there, and our light is still flashing away. It's perfect.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you got any questions or anything about the repair or comments, go ahead and leave those below. And while you're there, if you would like and subscribe to the video, help us out. And let me know what you think about those tire cables. I'm not 100% sold on how they're put on. I don't really know much about them. I'm sure there's some guys up north or out west that would know more than I do. I appreciate all you guys. Thanks for helping us grow this channel. While you're here, check out some of these other videos we have. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you.